Okay. Welcome back to Kamen Rider Review, episode number 130. We're here reviewing episodes 9 through 12 of Kamen Rider Fourze. First up, we have a two-parter Ultra arc, which is simply the arc featuring witches. Well, and also the biggest thing in this one is that Gen wanted to make Tamako a friend of his. So this is all developing her finally. It took 9 episodes to do something with this character after he was spooking her and the fact she's been there, but now we're doing something with her. So, like, she's part of this group of witches now, headed by a girl named Remiko, not the same one who was Shun's girlfriend, who she broke up with him because he'd rather be with Mew. So, and we figured out that the monster of the thing is called Alter, which I see this thing, it looks like a guy, even though it's a woman. And the girl's like, oh, they're witches, because they practice witchcraft. And that's what Tamako wanted to join them. And all about going to Lunar Witch, per se. That's how we should connect with them. So, Gen decides to, well, first, him and Yuko find where she lives, meets her mom, seems like a very nice person, and then they see her without her makeup on, which I think Gen points out that she's hot with makeup, which, yeah, I can buy that. And then she proceeds to run away, Gen chasing after her, and she goes on a tunnel, which, wait a minute, this is the same tunnel that was used in Alba Ranger when Asuka was chased by the Armor of Darkness. And she puts, like, mud on her face, like, what the heck? It's like Alba going to Moon Paradise. So, Gen decides to transform into Fourze in front of her, which she already knows he's Fourze. Takes her to the Rabbit Hat's locker, and takes her inside the station, puts her in a spacesuit, and shows her the moon. Yes, to show the fact that all she's been told about the moon is nothing more than a lie. Yeah, the one thing I at least got praise for the show is that they depict the moon pretty accurate from what I can tell reading about it, how it is in real life. There's nothing there except there's stuff there, yes, but there's no paradise. It's just rocks. That's basically what the moon is. So, and of course, I think it's like Yuko basically is a little upset with the fact he dragged her to the moon. And working with, by the way, they found out that Remiko is using this staff, which makes her into one of the Zondarts to make people think they're flying, but actually they're not. And eventually, of course, he's defeated, and of course, Tamako joins the group, no problem. And then the very next two-parter is the Pyxis arc, where we have this guy who's been sending lots of stuff to Yoko because he apparently can't, like, here's the thing, he apparently can't stand rejection. So he calls her, texts her, sends her love letters, and I'm like, dude, she's taken. She likes somebody, not you, dude. I'm sure probably you could find a girl, but good gosh, the way he did it was so freaking stupid. Yeah, and then it turns out he's Pyxis, which I'm like, wow, what a lame reveal, the fact he becomes Pyxis. So, and then there's this weird subplot where Chozo, one of the teachers, finds out about the locker, but he does not know it leads to the Rabbit Hatch, so he assumes it was for disposal. And then, of course, the locker disappears, and Keigo is trapped on the moon. So everybody's like searching over the school for it, eventually to waste them. So Yoko decides to ask the villain of the episode to find where the damn thing is, and he does, no problem. And I'm sure he probably enjoys the fact that she's touching him. Well, his horns, anyways, because it's in his Pyxis form. And he finds it, no problem. And then proceeds to use Fourze's, because apparently he can move objects, to blow the damn thing, ending part 1. And you think that's actually, well, the game's been destroyed. But according to Tamako, which she looked at later on, nope, that was not the real one. Apparently, Chogo switched the paper for disposal thing and swapped the lockers. And apparently the locker was kept in their room. I'm like, that was an interesting reveal. I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Then Okay, and here's the thing. Tamako was probably the one person who actually says because she can actually use some kind of spiritual stuff to understand which switches are good for this particular stuff and finding out. By the way, she found out this was actually not the locker due to the fact that her mark that she put on the locker, the inside locker, was not there. Despite had the disposal tag there, this was not the lock that was the gate to the rabbit hatch. Nope, this is a completely different locker. Which, I gotta admit, that was actually a really smart idea to do that. And then we find his ultimate plan. Kidnap a lot of the girls in school he apparently is basically fawn over. And use his power to drive all of them, except for Yoko for some reason, to a bus. And proceeds to drive the bus himself with his power. And, of course, they don't know that this is the guy who's they've been rejecting. And as soon as he turns off the power, they're like, ick. Why? Because he's a nerd? Here's the thing. He's not overweight. He just has glasses. Okay? And, so then he proceeds to have of course, Mew knows exactly what's going on. Sees the fact Fourze is coming on the roof. She tells the girls to look out, basically move, so he can basically fire his grappling hook, grab Pyxis out of the bus, and proceed to fight him. Now, this, of course, when he's in his final form, because, of course, Misuku has left the thing. So, then he fights him in the fire form and other forms. First, he also used the electric sword to basically destroy his little, his fangs on his thing. And eventually the monster is destroyed. And then he wakes up, he's talking about all the girls who rejected him and refused to run away. I am not surprised the girls all beat him up for kidnapping them. Basically what this guy did was kidnapping. He forced these girls on this bus just so he can have the bus drive off a freaking cliff with him on it. Because, they're going to go to the stars. Also, the thing with Yoko is quite funny. First, Yoko thinking, basically that the teacher he's falling over is that she wants. And then Shun comes in. Yes, Shun comes in and says, oh yeah, she really does want to talk to you. Something really urgent. Like, okay. And apparently came back and saw blockers. And then we see Shun now take the power driver, save the freaking bus. Which put the fact he's actually quite useful when he can be. And also, Keigo has this whole thing where he's still not accepting the Kamen Club. And he uses the gravity to go take down the flag that was up there. He tosses on a table. And eventually is like... By the way, we actually found the origin, kind of how they got the rabbit hatch in this two-parter. Is that we had this mysterious sender who sends him an astro switch to get to the rabbit hatch. And Yoko just happened to follow him. Knows who he is. He tosses and lock, and she goes through first. She's the first one through, which I found that interesting. Not Keigo, Yoki. And she goes through, of course, they reveal this over the fact that, by the way, she took his briefcase. Which, I actually thought this was a very smart idea on the fact of the writers who wrote this two-parter probably suspect this would happen. So he had this up early on, the fact that take the thing with him so he can stay at the base and probably work on more astral switches. Good on his part so he can communicate with him. And also, they have another way to communicate with him via the burger meal. You're thinking, what's the burger meal? It is fries, a drink, and a burger that are robots. That's actually really smart. They debuted the shake one debuted this episode. Fries debuted, I think, in episode 3 or 4. And the burger one is episode 1. And also, another way to communicate with him is the radar they established it very early on. So eventually, I think about it, he takes the flag. You think, he's hanging back up? Nope. Puts it on a flagpole and puts it on the moon's surface. Yes, he puts on the moon's surface. And then we show at the end of the episode, Fourze, first they have Fourze try to go to the moon. I'm like, couldn't you use the rocket? Nope, none of the power. And then eventually they find they actually, of course, they all on the moon, everybody there. He's accepting the Kamen Club being active. And you can think of this as kind of the end of a story arc in a way. I mean, not just this two-parter, but the end of basically a lot of stuff going since episode 1. Kind of in a ways. Plus, also, we're introduced to, we actually have Yokai, Yuki, meeting unintentionally the main villain of the series, who is the chairman of the board, the chairman of the school. Which you're thinking, wait a minute, chairman of a school? Yeah, that's okay. So it's in episode 12. I thought this was really interesting. Of course, you think so, because he has, apparently he's like a famous writer, which of course Yoki knows all about this guy, given the fact that he wrote a freaking book that she read a lot, and that she actually quoted stuff from his book, and she's like, oh, you actually have read my book, awesome. Oh, by the way, the guy's name is Mitsuki Gamo. Yeah, he's the main villain of the series. Because you always see him in that chair. This actually was the first episode outside of the chair. He's played by Shogo Terami. Which, aside from this series, this is the only thing he's ever done for Kamen, is this one series. Let's look at his Wikipedia page. Maybe he's been in a Sentai. Apparently he's been acting since 1977. He's currently 59 years old. So, aside from Kamen Rider, he has not worked at any other Sentai series, like any other tokusatsu aside from this one. Which I found that to be interesting. And I love the fact we finally get a chance to know the guy's name. The villain of the series. Because all we've seen of him is just a guy sitting in this circle chair. Which is like, look, you can sit, almost like, he's wearing a full suit. And you see him basically sitting there in the chair the whole time. Which I found that to be interesting. In fact, we can see him outside of it. And the fact that we get hints the fact that the female teacher, Songta, I think her name is, where she may be working with him. Not just for him, because she's a teacher at school, but working with him. We get hints of that. And then we see Scorpio later, where he's blocking Pyxis' plan. Like I said, we get so many elements here of a good story. Like, we get seeds planned for later. Like, I'm like, wow. It's like, so much good stuff here. And I'm still enjoying this series. Now, I'm going to do a comment corner. And then I'm going to come right back to the series, do 4 more episodes. I'm going to do Black Butler. So please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. And do not hit the dislike button. Okay, next video. Bye.